Katt Williams said it years ago. Nobody listened. Now Kevin Hart just proved every single word true at his own roast on Netflix in front of the whole world.
And told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on. And what did he say after he wore it? I made my own decision. Duh. But you didn't make it before they brought it up, did you?
That clip you just heard, that was not from last week. That was not a reaction to the roast. Katt Williams said that years before this Netflix special ever happened. And every single thing he described played out exactly the way he said it would. But before we get into all of that, I need you to understand something first. This video is not about whether Kevin Hart is talented. He is. This is not about whether the roast was funny or not funny. Some of it was. This is about something much bigger than one night of comedy on Netflix. This is about a pattern that Katt Williams identified years ago when nobody wanted to hear it. A pattern that just showed itself live in front of millions of people. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let's go back to the roast first. Kevin Hart, Netflix, one of the biggest comedy events of the year. Kevin is the headliner and the producer. His name is on this thing. His production company put it together. And here is where things start getting interesting. Before the roast even happened, Michael Che decided not to participate. That is not a small detail. Michael Che is one of the sharpest comedians working right now. He looked at what was being put together and said, "No, thank you." And when he explained why, he revealed something that most people glossed over. The writing room for a roast of a black comedian, produced by a black comedian's company, was made up mostly of white writers. Sit with that for a second. Kevin Hart has spent his entire career talking about authenticity, about representing his community, about being real. And the room where the jokes about him were being written, the room that his production company oversaw, did not reflect that community at all. That detail alone should have told you everything about what was coming.
You've done good though, Kevin. The black community is so proud of you right now. George Floyd is looking up at us all, laughing so hard that he can't breathe.
That was Tony Hinchcliffe at Kevin Hart's roast on Netflix, and the camera cut to Kevin Hart's face right after that joke landed, and Kevin Hart laughed. Now I want to be careful here because roasts are roasts. Dark humor is part of the format. I understand that. But here is the question that the internet could not stop asking after that moment. If that same joke had been made about Kevin Hart's mother, or his daughter, or someone he actually loved and cared about, would he have laughed the same way? Because George Floyd is somebody's son, somebody's father, a real person whose death changed this entire country. And the man who produced this roast, who had final say over what stayed in and what got cut, chose to keep that joke in. Then went on The Breakfast Club and said, and I want you to hear this carefully.
Joke. It wasn't a tasteful joke to our culture, to our audience, but our audience that's watching the roast, if you're watching the roast, you get why they're doing it. You get why the racial humor is on the table. Like, it's not, I wasn't shocked. Tony told a joke. It wasn't a tasteful joke.
George Floyd, it wasn't a tasteful joke to our culture, to our audience. But our audience that's watching the roast, if you're watching the roast, you get why they're doing it. You get why the racial humor is on the table. It's not, I wasn't shocked. Tony told a joke. It wasn't a tasteful joke to us. We didn't like it, okay? Hey man, that joke. We move on. We move on. That's what Kevin Hart said about a George Floyd joke at his own roast that his own production company produced. And then, in the same interview, when pressed further about his responsibility as producer, he said this.
That's a different conversation. It's nothing I can do. It's a production. It's a live production. I'm not compromising the live production for a reaction of what? What do you want me to do? I'm going to drag him off? You want me to fight afterwards? You want me to turn it into, like, what? That's not what I agreed to do. That's not the job.
Did you catch that? In one breath, Kevin Hart says, it's our production. In the next breath, he says, there's nothing I can do. It's a live production. Which one is it, Kevin? Either you are the producer with control and responsibility, or you are a performer with no power over what happens on stage. You cannot be both when it's convenient for you. And this is exactly the contradiction that the internet locked onto. Because people remembered something. In 2019, when Kevin Hart's old tweets resurfaced before the Oscars, he apologized, publicly, multiple times. He went on interview after interview expressing regret. He stepped down from hosting the Oscars. But a George Floyd joke at his own roast? We move on. A lynching joke from Shane Gillis? We move on. A joke about Cheryl Underwood's husband who died by suicide? We move on. The question people are asking is simple. Why did those tweets require years of public apology tours? But jokes about black pain at your own production get a we move on in one Breakfast Club interview? Now let's talk about Cheryl Underwood, because in the middle of all this chaos, she did something that nobody expected. Tony Hinchcliffe stood on that stage and made a joke about her late husband, a man who struggled with depression and died in 1990, gone for over 30 years, and Hinchcliffe thought that was a good punchline. The audience got uncomfortable. Social media immediately reacted, and everyone waited to see how Cheryl would respond. And when she got up, she did not cry. She did not complain. She did not post on Instagram about how hurt she was. She got up on that stage and said,
"You think you hurt my feelings by talking about my dead husband? My husband only died once. You die every night with them whack-ass jokes you be telling."
The crowd lost it. And in that one moment, Cheryl Underwood reminded everyone in that building exactly who she is. She did not need a production company. She did not need white writers in a back room. She did not need Netflix money to validate her. She just needed a microphone and 30 years of experience. And while Kevin Hart was busy explaining himself on The Breakfast Club, Cheryl Underwood was winning the internet. Now, this is where we come back to Katt Williams. Because everything we just talked about, the writing room, the George Floyd joke, the contradictions, the industry pressure, Katt Williams described all of it years ago. In his Club Shay Shay interview, the one that broke the internet, Katt Williams talked specifically about Kevin Hart. And what he said was not just about Kevin as a person, it was about the system that Kevin represents.
Period. Every single movie that Kevin Hart did was a movie that had been on my desk. That all I had said was, just, can we take some of this step and fetch it out? And then I can do it. Like, it don't need to be overtly homosexual, because I'm not homosexual, right? It doesn't need that to be funny, right? And me saying that and them going, oh yeah, no problem. And then going to give it to this other guy and having him do it just like it was. And acting like I'm a bad person because I keep standing on my standard, but...
Your period. Every single movie that Kevin Hart did was a movie that had been on my desk, that all I had said was just, can we take some of this step and fetch it out, and then I can do it. Like, it don't need to be overtly homosexual because I'm not homosexual, right? It doesn't need that to be funny, right? And me saying that and them going, oh yeah, no problem, and then going to give it to this other guy and having him do it just like it was and acting like I'm a bad person because I keep standing on my standard. Let that sink in. Katt Williams is saying that the roles Kevin Hart became famous for, the roles that built his career, were roles that Katt had already been offered, but Katt said no because he refused to do certain things that the industry wanted from him. And the industry's response? They found someone who would say yes. Now, I want to be clear. Katt Williams is not a perfect person. He has had his own controversies, his own struggles. This is not about putting Katt on a pedestal. This is about the specific claim he made, that the entertainment industry has a preferred type of black male comedian. And that type is someone who will do what they're told when it matters most. And here is the part that connects directly to the roast. Kevin Hart, as producer, had the power to pull that George Floyd joke. He had the power to restructure the writing room. He had the power to say, this is my name on this thing, and these are my standards. But he didn't. And when asked about it, his answer was essentially, I had no control. The same man who said, it's our production, suddenly had no control. Katt Williams saw this coming. He described it perfectly. The dress moment. Remember the dress? Kevin Hart spent years publicly saying he would never wear a dress on screen. He said it multiple times. It was a line he drew publicly. And then, when the right offer came, he wore the dress. And his explanation was, "I made my own decision." Katt Williams' response to that? You just heard it. You didn't make that decision before they brought it up. The decision was made for you. You just signed off on it. Now, people keep bringing Dave Chappelle into this conversation, and there is a reason for that. Dave Chappelle walked away from $50 million at the height of his career, when Chappelle's show was the biggest thing on Comedy Central. He walked away because he felt the direction of the content was moving somewhere he was not comfortable with. He talked about a specific sketch where he was playing a character and someone on set laughed in a way that made him deeply uncomfortable. He said it was the first time he got a laugh that he did not want, and he left. Now, you can agree or disagree with Dave's specific decisions over the years. That is a whole other conversation. But the contrast people keep pointing to is this. Dave Chappelle felt uncomfortable with one laugh on a set and walked away from $50 million. Kevin Hart felt uncomfortable with a George Floyd joke at his own roast and said, "We move on." Two comedians, two very different responses to industry pressure. And the internet has not stopped talking about that contrast since the roast aired. Here is what this roast actually revealed. And this is bigger than Kevin Hart, bigger than Katt Williams, bigger than any one comedian. The entertainment industry has a formula, and that formula rewards people who are manageable, people who can be guided, people who, when something goes wrong, will say the right thing in the right interview and move on quickly. Katt Williams spent years being labeled difficult, unstable, problematic. His personal struggles were magnified and his professional brilliance was minimized. Why? Because he kept saying no. He kept standing on his standard, his words. Kevin Hart said yes to the dress, to the writing room, to keeping the jokes in. And in return, he got Netflix deals and production company money and red carpets. That is not an accident. That is the formula working exactly as designed. And now, at his own roast, the formula showed its face completely. Because when you give the industry that much control, when you say yes enough times, eventually the product stops being yours. The jokes stop being yours. The night stops being yours. And you're left sitting in a chair on your own stage, laughing at a George Floyd joke, trying to explain it on The Breakfast Club the next morning.
Kevin told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on. And what did he say after he wore it? I made my own decision. Duh. But you didn't make it before they brought it up, did you?
Katt Williams said it years before this roast ever happened. He described the system. He named the pattern. He told you exactly how it works. Kevin Hart, at his own Netflix roast, proved every word true. The question is not whether Kevin Hart is talented. He is. The question is, at what cost does that talent operate? And who is really in control of the stage? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this video made you see something you didn't see before, you already know what to do.